Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Xanthus Gaming. We're here today in Soulstone Survivors playing the new patch with the Elementalists, using the Scepter of Flame so that we can apply lots of burning and melting debuffs on the enemies. We're going to be taking Holy Mastery so that we can utilize our Holy Start in order to get Exorcism. Multicast Mastery is of course going to give us lots and lots of multicasts. Critical Mastery is going to help scale up our crit damage as we get more crit chance. Generalist is going to give us more damage multiplier, and so will Executioner. Let's get on into it. Today's video will not be time-lapsed in any way. We're just going to be kind of skipping around a little bit. I thought it could be kind of fun to do it this way. We'll see how it goes. If you guys prefer the graphical overlays and the time-lapse, go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. But we're going to try out this format because it'll be a lot easier for me to put out guides like this than the other way I was doing it. So we might be able to get a little bit more content pushed out to y'all. Alright, let's go ahead and get on into it. So one of the first things I would really suggest, since we don't have reroll mastery, is making sure you look at your first setup and lock one of your passives and take a different one, if they're any good. This is going to allow you to basically have a pseudo-free reroll on your first active skill. So if you get active skills that are absolute trash, you can take your passive, which was semi-decent. And that is actually exactly what happens here for me in just a moment. I should have probably done the same thing on level 4, but I didn't. So yeah, there I had two different projectile missile things I did not want, so I was able to take Behemoth instead. So with this build, we're going to build it pretty different than most of the builds that we do. We are of course going to take the critical strike chance, we're going to take critical strike damage, multicast mastery, and cooldown reduction. Those are very, very big. We're going to take area until we can cover the whole screen with our abilities, just like always. But here's where things change a little bit. In addition to taking those things, we're going to want to take multiple ranks of fragility so we can hit that 300 asymptomatic limit a little bit quicker. Our rays of fire are going to be popping off all over the place, so we're going to ramp it up pretty quick, but our goal is to get them up to the max stacks as soon as possible. In addition to that, we're going to be taking multiple ranks of burn, poison, and doom. Because with this build, we're going to be applying Brittle, and Brittle will amplify the damage of those abilities. And we're just going to be stacking an insane amount of debuffs because we're going to be hitting so fast that our debuffs are actually going to make up a good chunk of our damage. It doesn't really separate it out yet, but you'll see that Holy Beam does an insane amount of damage, and that is because of all the debuffs that it's applying. So, important to take note of that. We grabbed Heat Explosion, which is a new ability right now. Basically, it is a Nova ability that will convert your burning into melting. If you don't know what melting does, melting reduces the armor of the enemies. There is a cap of 300 stacks as far as the armor reduction, but the damage will scale up infinitely. So again, we want to take multiple ranks of burning. We want to get as many beams going as we can. You kind of get the idea. One thing I did do on this run is I took Smite relatively early on just to stabilize my health because I was worried I was going to take a lot of damage. You don't have to do this, it's not used in the final build. I just kind of took it as a placeholder because it's a holy skill and it's going to heal me. But I did use my banishes to get rid of some of the holy skills that would not have normally been available to me, so that I was more likely to find the Exorcism one instead. I did consider for a moment taking Beacon of Light, but I opted out of that ultimately and decided to banish it. And beautiful, there I got Exorcism, which is exactly what we need. That's how we're going to keep healed up. Defensive wise, we're going to want to stack as much health as possible. We're going to want to stack resilience and block as well. The main reason for this is we want to avoid damage with block whenever possible. We want to reduce the amount of damage we're taking with resilience. And the reason for that is we're going to be healing it back up with Exorcism. If you get one shot, you can't heal back up, so your goal is to not get one shot. I do ultimately die on Endless 6, but it was kind of my own fault. I jumped into a saw blade, so, you know, I could have probably went further if I wasn't the dumb. It is what it is. With this particular build, it is very important to get lots and lots of critical strike on your abilities. If you did not know this, dots can also crit just as well as regular abilities can. So, stacking up crit beyond 100 and getting up to like 200 or higher is going to cause every dot to double crit with every single tick, which just is truly absurd. So crit is a very high priority. Crit and multicast are very, very high priorities. Cooldown reduction is something you start stacking in the endless stages, but you know, if you're offered a good cooldown early, take it. But early on, it's a bit more important to get that crit chance and get that multicast. Also vitally important early on is making sure you have enough movement speed so you don't die to the first 2 sets of bosses. Also part of the reason why I took Smite early on, because this guy by default moves a lot slower than a lot of other character classes, so taking movement speed and taking Smite help me stabilize and stay alive. Alright, that's enough of the early game talk and the stat priority talk. Let's go ahead and move into what the build actually looks like in the mid to end game. The first thing I'm going to jump into is Endless 2, just so you can see how absurd this build looks when the transparency is not turned down. So let's go ahead and pop forward and look at that, and then we're going to look at the actual back end of the run so you can kind of see how it goes. Again, none of this will be time-lapse, all of it is real time. Alright, so skipped ahead a little bit. This is where I cranked up the transparency effects so that we could see exactly what was happening. And let's go ahead and hit play, and you're gonna see it's honestly kind of pretty, but yeah, look at that. So you can see obviously we get lots and lots of rays of fire going. It actually gets more absurd when we get further in, but I don't think I turned up the transparency again because it's so obscuring, but it is really, really cool looking. So alright, let's pop into the end game, and you guys can just kind of watch the back half of the run until I die, and you can kind of see what it ends up playing like in the end. Again, it's very important that you get lots and lots of movement speed, because once you get into Endless 4 and 5 and higher, it ups the boss's cast speed and movement speed through the roof, and if you don't have movement speed to match, you're gonna just die. So do keep that in mind. Alright, let's go ahead and jump forward just a little bit. Okay, we're just going to start at the last boss spawns of Endless 5. You can kind of see the crazy amount of beams we got going on there. Even with the faded transparency, you can really tell that it's a crazy, crazy amount of beams that are going out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this play through the boss kill on stage 5, and then I am going to skip forward to stage 6 on the first set of bosses, and you guys can watch it play out from there. I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic so you guys can just enjoy the gameplay. Let me know what you think of this format. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And thanks for being here today, guys.